Good morning. We're very excited to talk about today's HomePod lineup, so I'm going to be handing it off to Drew to tell you more about the HomePod. Thanks, Tim. The lineup starts with the HomePod Mini, which packs amazing sound quality for the size and for the low price of $99 in an assortment of colors to choose from.
Wow.
That's amazing. Tell us more about the HomePod line. That's it. Oh, okay, we have a Mini. There's not like something else, like a Pro or a Max or something else to tell people? Nope, just the Mini. Huh, okay. Well, usually if we have a Mini of something, we should also, maybe HomePod Studio or, nope, just the Mini. Mini's all you need. Well, you know what, Drew? I think I'll put you in charge of deciding how the HomePod lineup can be expanded. Thank you so much. I thought you'd never ask Tim. Let's begin. So in that very real scenario, Tim Cook wants me to design and figure out what should come next in the HomePod lineup. And I know some of the obvious answers. I mean, Quo didn't give us much to work with. Basically, the reason I wanted to talk about this is he said that Apple is planning some kind of new HomePod model to launch later in 2022. Might end up getting pushed to early 2023, but that there wouldn't be too much hardware innovation. So the bleak and kind of boring answer to that is maybe Apple is planning to refresh the regular HomePod, even though they stopped selling the OG HomePod, with something maybe a little bit cheaper, maybe $200, but if Quo is right and there's not much hardware innovation, I would expect it to look incredibly similar to the OG HomePod. It would be easy to give that thing the U1 chip, give it some newer Wi-Fi capabilities, increase the number of tweeters and kind of beef up the woofer inside it and everything, and just say, okay, there's a HomePod Mini, and now there's a HomePod that does the same thing, except it's a little louder. Okay, big whoop. Personally, I don't think that's a good idea because Apple has tried to go down the route of making a big, powerful, really high sound quality HomePod, and it didn't sell very well. They ended up discontinuing it, and people weren't that happy with it, whereas HomePod Mini, I think, is in the market of what a smart speaker should be. If you're not going to let people connect to it and use it as like a Mac accessory, so there's no audio jack, and you're not even going to let people use Bluetooth with HomePods, I've been asking for this ever since they unveiled it. It still has not happened, so I'm just kind of giving up hope on that concept. Then basically what you're trying to make is something for the home. You want something that people can talk to send messages, set timers, or play music. And if you want it just to be like this omniscient digital assistant that you can talk to and have it in the kitchen or the bedroom or living room, then leading harder in the direction of trying to cater more towards audiophiles, I don't think is a great idea. I mean, I've listened to the HomePod Mini myself. I still think the amount of sound it can create from such a small device is incredible. But if you want to expand on the lineup, if you want something to offer more than what the HomePod Mini can offer, then you should try to lean more into the home aspect and creating something that people can use more passively for connecting with others and checking on things around the house. Not so much saying you should spend $200 on this HomePod because it sounds better. Audiophiles are going to have their own dedicated speaker setups that they can customize and plug in directly with audio cables. They're not going to be interested in buying a speaker that they can only connect to via AirPlay. So the opposite direction, in my view, is to make something that's better and more connected with your smart home. And some people may be against this, but it's been talked about before, and I think it's a great idea. Adding a display to the HomePod. I mean, Nest has already seen some success with this when it comes to the smart speaker market. Basically, if all you're selling is a speaker with no display, everyday consumers are not going to spend more than $50 to $100 max on those dedicated speakers. You know, it doesn't matter if they don't sound great. You can pack in enough sound quality to a HomePod Mini to cover what people use smart speakers for, which is usually passive audio experience. It's not blare this music at full volume and the sound quality better be perfect for this party environment. It's like, no, people just like having music playing in the background, or people like to passively set timers. So the value people put in a smart speaker that's just a speaker and nothing else doesn't get much higher than $100. So if Apple wants to introduce a new HomePod that's say $200 or maybe even close to the original price of $350, it has to do more for the smart home, and a display I think could enable a lot more. Even if it's a low quality one, you know, you could do a non-laminated LCD with not that high a pixel density. You know, Apple sells the budget iPad for $300. Maybe if they worked with that kind of price point, but instead of having a battery, instead of having a rear camera, and instead of having an A13 chip and all that, making something small and compact and affordable, but still has a front-facing camera with center stage, which I think would work perfect in the kitchen and worked perfect in a lot of environments, would allow you to passively, you know, answer a FaceTime call or make a FaceTime call, and you can talk to friends and family, and the camera will track with you as you're preoccupied, as your hands are busy. And of course, the speaker built into this thing, similar to the Nest Hub, but probably with better audio quality, using the same tweeter or woofer that the HomePod Mini uses, would make it feel like the person you're calling is directly in the room, and you can see them right on that display. I'm not saying it should run iPadOS or anything, but HomePods are already running a heavily modified version of tvOS, so maybe making a scaled down version of tvOS, they could talk more about this at the developer keynote the next couple weeks, that could run tvOS applications. So if you want to have a YouTube video playing or ask Siri for a certain recipe, she can kind of bring up a tutorial, show you results to choose from, or, you know, when you're not even using the Home Hub or the HomePad or whatever you want to call it, it could be cycling through your iCloud photo library and just become a nice little picture frame as it's playing music in the background. And Apple, you know, is already pushed for secure iCloud video, so if you have a smart doorbell or security cameras around the house, you could easily monitor all of that through the display. If someone rings the doorbell, it shows up on the screen. You can see, oh, who's here? There's all kinds of great advantages I think you could have to making a hub that maybe sounds a little bit better and a little bit more powerful than a HomePod Mini, but could have a clear and obvious feature set that justifies a higher price. I don't really think Apple needs to go in the lower direction than HomePod Mini. A $99 is probably as cheap as you're gonna get an Apple smart speaker. And if you go in the opposite direction, I don't think it'll sell well. I don't think there's much of a market for a $200 HomePod Pro or a $300 HomePod Studio. Google tried that with the Home Max, and that supported Bluetooth and that supported audio jack plugins, and professionals did not buy into that. They were not interested. So we've seen so many failed attempts at doing smart speakers at higher and higher pricing that tries to lean in more with audio quality, to the point where I'm convinced the only direction you can go is the Nest Hub route. And I think Apple could do it very, very well because of how well they optimize software for somewhat larger displays. And because it's Apple and people buy into this ecosystem more than any other, they could probably get away with charging $300 for it with a decent sized display. And of course, center stage, I love. I've used it across multiple Apple devices, and I think it would work great on a product like this. It would be the ultimate kitchen accessory, and Apple would get the design down and the colors down, and I think that's really the only direction the HomePod line as a whole can comfortably go in and still find a market that's interested. But do you guys disagree? Is there another direction you want the HomePods to go in? Do you think there's still a market for like a mobile HomePod with a battery that you carry around with you? All that good stuff. Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.